A very good evening to you. It is Monday, the 19th of May, 2025. And here's to hoping you've started off the week on a good note. You're watching Newsplus with me, Wazanai Sansole, and these are your headlines. Namibia's President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah has arrived in the country for an official working visit. She is expected to hold bilateral talks with President Mnangagwa on Tuesday. More details on her visit here on Newsplus. Are you a driver based in Harare? Well, you may need to check the latest list of traffic offenders that has just been released by police. Newsplus gives you more details on that development as police intensify implementation of the electronic traffic management system. City fathers in Harare have turned to debt collectors as they seek to recover 200 million ZiG that is owed to them by occupants of council properties. We spoke to the city mayor's councillor, Jacob Mafume, on the exercise. And in sport, renowned karate instructor and fitness trainer Mugove Muhambi, who died in a road traffic accident at the weekend, has been laid to rest. Now for our stories in greater detail, Namibia's President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah has arrived in Zimbabwe for an official working visit. She was welcomed at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport by Vice President Kembo Mohadi, Zimbabwean Ambassador to Namibia, Melody Chaurura, and Skills Audit and Development Minister Paul Mavima. President Nandi-Ndaitwah will pay a courtesy call on President Mnangagwa tomorrow, where the two leaders are expected to hold crucial bilateral talks. This is her inaugural official visit to Zimbabwe since being sworn in as Namibian president in March this year. Now, Zimbabwe and Namibia share a common history of fighting colonial rule, and the two countries look to deepen bilateral relations and strategic partnerships. 2025 SADC TFCA Summit opened today with a clear message: rural communities must be at the center of conservation dialogue. As the region marks 25 years of cooperation, the focus is shifting to how biodiversity protection can also boost livelihoods. Our reporter Faith Nyaude attended the opening ceremony and compiled the following report.
For long, conservation policies have been shaped in distant rooms, often without the voices of the people most affected. But today, a message emerged from the summit floor. Rural communities cannot continue to be left out of the biodiversity conversation.
We want to put communities at the top. They should be on the top of the ladder. When our governments, when our partners are talking, make sure that those people who may think are illiterate, they should be part of the conversation. They should be part of the discussion, so that when we design these interventions, they should be part of that process.
Leaders, environmentalists, and community representatives agreed if biodiversity is to be protected meaningfully, then rural communities must be equal partners, not just beneficiaries. This means not only inviting them into discussions, but also investing in their knowledge, practices, and long-term livelihoods.
But like I said, we can't tell communities what they need. They know what they need. And if we can work from that, bringing in practices, educating on agriculture, climate smart agricultural practices, livestock rearing, mitigating human-wildlife conflict, you've got a great starting point, and ensuring that they contribute to what that project is going to be. Don't take it all on the board.
The Transfrontier conservation areas have provided some help so far. Across the region, they are promoting conservation farming, building skills, and introducing climate-smart agriculture.
We provide the opportunity through value chain. So we want to reward farmers and transform poachers for conserving the land. And by doing that, we provide a market with the most competitive market prices in the area to reward those.
This is one of the many issues that the 2025 SADC TFCA International Conference and Summit is seeking to address. IFAO African Director James Isiche says the summit is also an opportunity to realize and recognize the efforts by the rangers in helping protect the TFCA as well as they bringing them to life.
A very, very critical issue that we are looking at also is ranger welfare in terms of the kind of accommodation that they have. Because traditionally rangers have put their lives on the line, but they don't get adequate or good accommodation while doing their job. So we are trying to change that and improve the standard of living.
As the 2025 SADC TFCA Summit unfolds, the message is clear. Conservation in Southern Africa is evolving. It's no longer just about protecting wildlife and landscapes. It's about empowering the people who live among them. The next years of TFCA cooperation will depend not just on cross-border collaboration, but on genuine inclusion, shared responsibility, and a commitment to equity at every level. Reporting for ZTN Prime, I'm Faith Nyaude in Harare.
Now, from that story on inclusive conservation, we now look at waste management. Zimbabwe and Belarus are set to deepen cooperation in waste management following a high-level deal signed during President Emmerson Mnangagwa's visit to Minsk last week. The agreement, involving Zimbabwe's Geopomona Waste Management and a Belarusian firm, promises to transform the country's waste disposal systems. Our correspondent Selina Nyamangara has the details.
Zimbabwe's waste management crisis has been a long-standing challenge, with overflowing landfills, rampant illegal dumping and recycling rates below 10%. However, through a combination of policy reforms, private sector innovation and community engagement, the country has begun to turn the tide. During President Mnangagwa's visit to Belarus last week, he met with the Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, and among the several deals signed was one for the implementation of modern technologies in waste management. Zimbabwe will benefit from advanced machinery and expertise in waste recycling, taking Zimbabwe's efforts in waste management further.
Yes, they have good modern technology which you can use here in Zimbabwe. It can also help us to do proper waste management. By using those technology, we can teach our locals, engineers, and also other waste management experts to use that technology so that we cooperate what the government of Belarus is doing and also what Geopomona is doing here in Zimbabwe.
Besides strengthening of ties, Zimbabwe will also be a hub for Belarusian products.
In terms of the economy, we're talking of job creation. The more we buy equipment from Belarus, the more they increase their employment. And the more we bring the equipment here in Zimbabwe, also the more we employ a lot of people here in Zimbabwe, engineers, different people. So we're strengthening the economic growth by providing jobs to the people.
Waste management experts have endorsed this new deal, saying that new technologies will go a long way in achieving the country's zero waste target.
So as Zimbabwe, really, we are saying technology is the way to go, whereby we are going into deals which really allows us to use the efficient kind of equipment. Then we know that we will achieve that zero waste that we are so garnering for. So the other thing probably that I can point out in as far as going adopting the best machinery or the best equipment is that it can also allow us as a country to attain that clean environment that is safe for the people.
The Environmental Management Agency, EMA, believes the partnership will not only improve waste management, but also boost the economy.
That kind of innovation which allows probably for us to promote the circular economy, because issues of the circular economy and waste management, you cannot separate them, because we are saying for us to attain that zero waste in the environment, we need to actually recover resources from what we see as waste, and then we take that back into the economy, whereby we see what can actually be a waste from one industry actually becomes a resource in another industry.
With more international partnerships like this, the country is building a comprehensive approach to waste management. All eyes are now on Geopomona to see if this deal will yield tangible results in improving Zimbabwe's waste management. For ZTN Prime, I'm Selina Nyamangara in Harare.
And now to discuss the outcomes of President Emmerson Mnangagwa's state visit to Belarus in terms of implementation of the deals that were secured and the impact on national development, we are joined by Ranga Mataire. He is the group political editor. Good evening, Ranga. Ranga, the Belarusian state visit has come and gone. What's next for Zimbabwe after securing all these deals?
Good evening. Thank you for that question, Waza. I think what is critical going forward is to set up mechanism for tracking the implementation of the deals. But what is also gratifying is that already we have seen the pragmatism of some of the deals that have been signed. We talk about the Belarusian farm mechanization facility, which to date has, brought some results in terms of delivery of farm equipment, tractors, and farm implements. You are aware that in 2023, the Belarusian leader was in Zimbabwe for a state visit in which he delivered tractors to Zimbabwe, and which tractors are part of what the government is trying to do in terms of meeting the vision of an upper middle income by mechanizing agriculture. So we have seen the practicability or the pragmatism of Zim-Belarusian bilateral relations through that facility. So going forward, I think what is needed is to ensure that there is mechanism to look, retrace, and even refine some of the MOUs that have been signed. But the fact that the two leaders have decided to upgrade the bilateral relations to a heads of state level is indicative of the seriousness in which they are taking these deals, which upon implementation are likely to result in mutual, economic development and prosperity for the two countries.
So, Ranga, out of the 8 deals that were signed, which ones do you think should be given top priority in terms of implementation?
I think it is a very difficult question given the fact that almost all the agreements or the deals that were signed are very critical to the well-being of Zimbabwe. You talk about mining, which contributes a sizable chunk in terms of GDP. Belarus is famed for, manufacturing mining equipment. So mining is very critical, and there have been some agreements on that. But you also talk about health, which is closest to many people in the country. The Belarusian government has pledged to work with Zimbabwe in upgrading, for example, Parenyatwa General Hospital, and also work in the health sector in general. So it is very difficult to really pinpoint one. But I can say from my head that the health one is very critical, mining is very critical, agriculture is very critical. What is needed is to ensure that there is a mechanism to ensure the implementation of the agreements. And like I said before, the fact that we have a joint commission, a joint permanent commission between the two countries, and the fact that the coordination is now being done at the heads of state level is indicative of the seriousness that the two countries take these deals. So going forward, I think we can only, hope that for the best in terms of what has been so far signed between the two countries.
So what lessons can Zimbabwe draw from Belarus in terms of economic development?
I think there are various lessons, but just to take you back in terms of how the relationship between Belarus and Zimbabwe has grown, I think it has grown fundamentally because of the personal friendship and relationship between President Mnangagwa and President Lukashenko. When you look at history, you will see that strong personal bonds between, heads of states have substantially contributed in terms of the mutual development of their respective countries. The chemistry that exists between the two leaders can only be the tonic for, mutual economic prosperity between Zimbabwe and Belarus. So the lesson that we take is that Belarus has caved in a competitive niche, taking advantage of its own, competencies, industrial competencies, by being one of the leading manufacturers of dump trucks. I think we can also leverage on what we have in order to spur prosperity. So that is the lesson that we get from Belarus. It's a small country, but it is, it has achieved wonders in being the leading manufacturer of farm equipment, of dump trucks, and so forth. So I think as Zimbabwe, we can also learn one or two things in terms of leveraging what we have in terms of resources.
Thank you very much, Ranga, for sharing your insights, and good evening to you. That was Ranga Mataida, the Zim Papers Group political editor, helping us to discuss the deals that were signed between Zimbabwe and Belarus last week. Now, here's a quick recap of the deals. Nearly 300 traffic offenders captured on police cameras. That story right ahead.
Stuck on you. Ooh, obsessed with you. I'm obsessed.
With Showmax, your favorite characters now follow you anywhere. Download it today and watch the best in local, international, and everything in between.
Didn't graduate? I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoiled.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
That guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
You're watching Newsplus, and we're coming to you live from Harare. Police in Harare have released a list of 290 vehicles captured on camera violating traffic lights regulations. This comes as police intensify the implementation of the electronic traffic management system. In a statement earlier today, National Police spokesperson Commissioner Nyati said the vehicle owners or those in possession of the vehicles listed should report to the ZRP National Traffic Offices at Mkushi Academy within the next 7 days. Commissioner Nyati reminded drivers to be law-abiding and play a part towards road safety. Now, if you are a motorist, you may want to take a look at the list on the ZRP page on X. Now, the Harare City Council also says it is owed in excess of 200 million ZiG by residents and businesses occupying council properties. The council has since launched a debt recovery operation targeting defaulting occupants. The operation is focused on recovering rent and service fees from occupants of council accommodation, commercial leaseholders, school operators, and even users of guarded car parks.
So the city of Harare owns in excess of 13,000 housing units comprised of proper houses, flats, apartments, and residential units in the various suburbs. These 13,000 units have been underperforming. They have leases that were given to people who historically, some of them have since left, but have left subtenants in those premises, and some have since passed away, and indeed have left those blocks of units with people and their relatives or subtenants that are occupying. And these have fallen behind in terms of the rentals that are due to council from those flats. and those apartments and houses, as the case may be. We are currently owed in excess of 200 million ZiG by these tenants, and we thought that we needed to put out a notice.
Harare Mayor Jacob Mafume says they are now taking a hardline stance, which will include transitioning from postpaid to prepaid systems to match with global trends.
Everything in the country has become, you pay first and you use later. To come out of the city of Harare, you have to pay. To get into the city of Harare, you have to pay. To use your phone, you have to pay. To drink a drink, you have to pay. To use data, you have to pay. The world has moved from a postpaid system to a prepaid system. For you, in order to get the service, you have to pay for it. To get electricity, you have to pay. And there is no room for expecting someone to give you something that you've not paid for.
Now, moving on, a fire in CSO area caused significant losses for local traders on Friday, and a call has been made by officials for businesses to protect their assets through insurance. Francisca Msheche visited the affected area.
Mbare Siaso Trader says they have engaged the Harare City Council to ensure the construction of proper working structures to mitigate fire incidents. This comes after a fire that erupted last Friday, dealing a heavy blow to local entrepreneurs who depend on daily trade for survival.
Because we have story building, because the workspace yedu hatichakwana kutezi kutinge tiripo saka tawaka dzimba dzine muturikidzwa tamwanga washandira pasi washandira pamusoro because tiri pa process yekutowaka izvozvo.
Limited space remains a significant challenge to entrepreneurs, which they believe is also contributing to these mishaps. The blaze destroyed valuable tools and equipment, including grinders, fridges, drills, and plumbing materials, as well as computers.
Chamber, tabu, single, plumbing,
the chairperson of Mukwisi Manufacturing Union, which represents some of the traders at Siaso, spoke on the losses, which he said to be over $15,000.
Zvingangoda zvisvika kuma $15,000 zvitakarasikirwa nazvo zvitoti madhiriri wayo makompyuta zveplumbing neimwe equipment inoshandiswa pano nezvehardware.
As fire incidents continue to be experienced in most SMEs operating sites, a call has also been made for them to prioritize insurance. This, they believe, will provide cover in case of any unforeseen circumstances.
Isusu tiri kuti isusu kana zvibvira vanhu ngavatenga insurance such that pakada zvakadai zvaitika nhasi svika izvi vanenge vane cover vanowana rubatsiro kana zvinhu zvinge zvatsva zvamuri kuona zvaitika panapa izvi kuti vanenge vakwanisa kuwana insurance yavo inozovakavhawo voona pekutangirawo noti kuti nhasi ari pasero.
Given Bari's history of fire incidents, it is indeed vital for entrepreneurs to invest in insurance to protect their assets, while some of the key issues to avoid mishaps are being addressed. For ZTM Prime, I am Francisca Msheche in Harare.
The 78th session of the World Health Assembly officially opened in Geneva, Switzerland today. The high-level global meeting brings together health ministers and experts from around the world to address pressing health issues, including pandemic preparedness, funding gaps, and universal health coverage. Zimbabwe is among the participating nations, with Health and Childcare Minister Dr. Douglas Mombeshora leading the delegation. Public Health Advisor to the President and Cabinet Dr. Agnes Mahomva is also part of the Zimbabwean delegation.
And the theme is one health for the world. And we're extremely happy in Zimbabwe because a lot of the things that are actually being covered, a lot of the units or areas that are being covered, very much in line with what we are trying to do in Zimbabwe. If you remember, we are just finalizing our One Health strategy as a nation, the multi-sectoral approach. We have also really battled to figure out how to institutionalize the best lessons that we've learned from COVID-19. And here we are, the pandemic treaty is going to address just that, the agreement rather. And we're very happy that we're part of it, knowing what is going to happen and how we can get all those lessons from here, marry them with what we learned in Zimbabwe and strengthen our health system.
United Nations agencies have joined forces to deliver integrated food security and sexual reproductive health services in Zimbabwe in a bid to address the funding gaps following the withdrawal of U.S. government funding through USAID. The World Food Programme and the United Nations Population Fund have signed a memorandum of understanding to support the government's efforts in spearheading these initiatives. Speaking at the MOU signing in Harare recently, UNFPA country representative Miranda Tabifor said this new agreement will help address multiple sustainable development goals simultaneously.
Recently, also, we collaborated with WFP in their food distribution center in Beira. So we know that. We went there and we actually said that is actually what actually instigated us to put this MOU in writing. That it's good to have this MOU signed so that we deliberately, when they have their program in the field to distribute food, we should be there as well to provide this integrated sexual reproductive health, gender-based violence, family planning, HIV and AIDS services. So this collaboration, actually, to sum up, is actually going to strengthen our collective delivery for the Sustainable Development Goals. We know that WFP leads when it comes to fighting for hunger, but we have integration of our work there, and we also work on ensuring that we advance the SDG agenda on well-being. SDG agenda number 3 talks about health and well-being, and we also have the SDG agenda that talks about gender equality and women's empowerment.
Temperatures in Zimbabwe have been fluctuating lately with cold mornings, warm afternoons and then chilly evenings. To give us a better picture of what exactly is unfolding, we have James Ngoma, our resident weatherman. Good evening, James. Now we're hearing about the cold front that's right next to us in South Africa. Is this going to affect us in Zimbabwe?
Good evening, Wazana. Thank you very much for that question. Looking at the phenomenon that's affecting South Africa, which is called a cold front, it usually affects the southern parts of southern Africa, but it doesn't reach as far field as Zimbabwe. But in terms of the wind regime that affects Zimbabwe, we're expecting that system that is being called a cold front to fetch a southeasterly airflow. Currently it's fetching a southwesterly airflow because of its influence over South Africa, but as it reaches Zimbabwe, it will be a southeasterly airflow that will affect the southern parts of the country, covering parts of Matabele and South Masvingo, as well as parts of Manicaland, because of that southeasterly push from the southern part of the south coast.
Could you also tell us what the expected timelines are for this weather change?
So for Zimbabwe, we are expecting this cold weather to start influencing from midweek, that's on Wednesday evening into Thursday, giving us cloudy conditions over the southern parts through Gonarejo National Park into the interior of the country, covering provinces such as Matabele and South Masvingo, as well as Manicaland province, where we're expecting it to be cooler, with temperatures dropping by about 10 degrees, especially over the southern parts. As we reach the central watershed, we're expecting a 4-degree drop in areas such as Gweru, Harare, as well as Bulawayo. To the extreme north, we're expecting just a slight drop, about 2 degrees to about 1 degree in areas to the north, areas such as your Kariba, your Victoria Falls, as well as parts of Kanyemba into Mutoko area.
Now, James, these days you never know whether to leave the house wearing a jersey or to carry a jacket because the weather is just so unpredictable. So as we start the new week, what is the weather looking like and how can citizens prepare themselves?
That's very interesting, wasn't I? Looking at the conditions that are currently existing, we're expecting the afternoons to be generally warm from Monday through to Wednesday, where we're expecting sunny conditions in most areas, just brief cloudy periods here and there. But because we're transitioning into winter, we expect the nights to get cooler. So for those that wake up very early, it's best to wear your jersey in the early parts of the morning, but afternoons from Monday through to Wednesday, we're expecting them to be rather warm. So it's a perfect time to be outdoors and enjoying the perfect sunshine. But towards evening, we expect the temperatures to also plummet into the cool category for most areas. So it's again time to put on your jerseys and also a scarf if you have one.
Thank you very much, James, and good evening to you. When Newsplus returns, we'll give you further updates on the stories from the world around us.
The future is now,
and is powered by artificial intelligence. Zim Papers proudly presents the 2025 AI Conference, a groundbreaking event happening on the 30th of May in Mutare at Manicaland State University of Applied Sciences. Join leading AI experts, researchers, innovators, and institutions already applying artificial intelligence to solve real-world challenges, from media and agriculture to education and finance. Whether you are a business stakeholder, a tech enthusiast, a student, or simply curious about how AI is changing our world, this conference is for you. Don't miss this opportunity to learn, connect, and be part of Zimbabwe's digital future. For marketing and exhibition, contact Tendai Mberebe on 0772 671 488. Zim Papers AI Conference 2025. Advancing innovation, empowering Zimbabwe.
In a land where traditions run deep, where the soil holds the secrets of generations, and where dreams are sown alongside seeds, a new generation emerges. Welcome to Young Seeds. Get ready to embark on a journey like no other as we shine a spotlight on the dynamic and inspiring young farmers in the heartland of Zimbabwe.
To do it because plants will die, plants will get infected by diseases.
I tried to do mixed farming, that is also putting tomatoes. I have half a hectare of tomatoes.
Every 40 days it has to be giving birth. Produce a good quality fruit size. Calves are kept in different pens, basically so that they don't spread diseases to each other.
My name is Tariwa Sikauke. I'm a rabbit farmer.
These young farmers are revolutionizing traditional practices, embracing technology, and finding sustainable solutions that will shape the future of agriculture. So, let's get our hands dirty.
Thank you for staying tuned to Monday's edition of Newsplus right here on ZTN Prime. Now, as we continue with our bulletin, we give you our crimes and court updates with Kimberly Chimbanyanga.
A notorious fraudster, Allen Musamu, has been jailed for 3 years after defrauding a complainant of over 1 million rand. He defrauded Zimbabwean companies, claiming access to foreign funds. Musamu was sentenced to 7 years, with 2 years suspended on condition of good behavior and 2 years suspended for restitution. He offered to use free funds in South Africa to buy surgical supplies for Sita's healthcare and be paid locally. After receiving the payment, he never delivered. Moving on, a Harare woman, Tendai Muroiwa, has been sentenced to 210 hours of community service after she forged an O-level certificate to secure admission into a nursing program. She was initially sentenced to 12 months imprisonment, of which 3 months were suspended on condition that she does not commit a similar offense. The remaining 9 months were suspended on condition that she performs 210 hours of community service and the forged certificate was forfeited. Muroiwa went to ZIMSEC offices to have her ordinary level certificate confirmed after she had been offered a place to train as a nurse at Chitungwiza General Hospital. ZIMSEC officials discovered that the certificate she provided was fraudulently obtained and that some details belonged to someone else. Still at the courts, a 21-year-old Harare man allegedly sexually assaulted his 15-year-old friend. He appeared in court charged with rape. Allegations are that the accused met the complainant along the road and offered her a lift before sexually abusing her in his car. He was granted $100 United States bail and will be back in court on June 19. For ZTN Prime, I'm Kimberly Chimbalanga in Harare.
Now here's a global update for you. The 20th Chinese medical mission to Senegal conducted an academic exchange on traditional Chinese medicine and a training course for Senegalese participants at Fan Hospital in Dakar, the Senegalese capital. The Chinese medical mission partnered with the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Dakar and Fan Hospital to address the local shortage of medical resources.
Aujourd'hui, nous lançons ce programme de formation en MTC pour partager la culture médicale chinoise et les techniques pratiques de MTC avec nos homologues sénégalais. Le but est d'aider davantage de Sénégalais à comprendre et à avoir recours à la médecine traditionnelle chinoise.
The remaining functional hospitals in the Gaza Strip are facing severe shortages of medical resources following the continuous Israeli attacks. Local health authorities have said Israeli airstrikes killed at least 100 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip overnight as mediators hosted a new round of ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. There was no immediate comment from the Israeli military, which has explained its airstrikes on the enclave, killing hundreds of people in preparation for a new ground offensive to achieve operational control in parts of Gaza.
المستشفى المعمداني رجع زي ما كان من قبل، استقبل كم كبير من الحالات، وطبعا لسه المستشفى يعني في بعد الاعتداء الاخير اللي صار عليه لسه شوي الاسره مش بالعدد اللي كانت، يعني اقل بكثير طبعا، بس يعني برضه بالنهايه بيجي الحاله بدك تتعامل معها وين ما كان يكون، في وسع ولا فيش وسع بدك تتعامل.
معي كانسر، تجي لا في غذاء ولا في علاجات ولا في نيله. لو وقت ايش يعني نضلنا زي هيك مش عارفه. انهدينا معنى الكلمه. يعني الحرب من شقه والجوع من شقه وقله العلاجات من شقه. لا امتى بدنا نضلنا هيك؟ لا امتى؟ يفتحوا المعابر يشوفوا الناس يجيبوا علاجات يجيبوا حاجه ووقفوا الحرب اهم من كل شيء الحرب تقف.
Meanwhile, permanent representative of Israel to the United Nations, UN, Danny Danon, denied that any discussions had occurred between Israel and the UN regarding delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza. Israel blocked the entry of goods and supplies into Gaza on March 2nd, following the end of the first phase of a January ceasefire deal with Hamas, and it resumed attacks on Gaza on March 18. Now, with no food, no supplies, and no relief in sight, Gazans have been enduring a relentless fight for survival.
Some information from the media, I assume, but I think they should look into that and to realize that if they want to be involved, that is the way to be involved.
The European Union stands ready to impose a new round of large-scale sanctions on Russia. This was said by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. EU ambassadors reached an agreement regarding the bloc's 17th round of sanctions targeting Russia. Speaking at the 6th European Political Community Summit in the capital of Albania, Ursula noted that the new package of sanctions on Russia would be more stringent. The measures will include adding more ships of Russia's shadow fleet to the sanctions list, lowering the oil price cap, and expanding sanctions on Russia's financial sector. Up next is business. The first European Union Zimbabwe Business Forum is set to start tomorrow on Zimbabwean soil in the capital as the EU seeks to strengthen bilateral trade between Brussels and Harare. Trade between Zimbabwe and the EU has grown by 30%, with the FDI surging by a staggering 90% in just 3 years, now surpassing $880 million. And in an interview with Ibn Mabunda on The Mint today, the EU ambassador to Zimbabwe said European companies that are already in the country for the conference are looking forward to establishing partnerships with Zimbabwean business players.
The biggest potential for trade, but also for investment. And if I look at the companies coming now and the companies registering locally, I think locally there's a lot of appetite to work together with European companies, either for the know-how, for machinery, for technology transfer or capital. And from the European side, I think it's still a relatively untapped market. Yes, we have increased by 90%, but we could have done more, yeah? And I think this kind of event serves as well to showcase to European companies what Zimbabwe has to offer. Because many companies have gone in other African countries and did not necessarily come to Zimbabwe. And I think the fact is that this is organized here in Harare. Companies can come, they can experience the atmosphere, the flair of Zimbabwe and Harare. I think is very, very important.
Now, earlier this year, the EU declared that Zimbabwean companies can now export any product to the bloc duty-free. The ambassador says this move will amplify trade between the two territories. The EU remains a critical buyer of Zimbabwe's horticultural exports, with over 40% of Zimbabwe's horticultural produce absorbed by EU markets.
We have seen, in particular, the blueberry value chain, I think, is...
it's moving
rocket-like moving up, and
right.
We have others, macadamia nuts, tea, coffee, cut flowers, we have citrus and so on. Mm-hmm. So I think that's all on the rise. That's also a reason why we chose them. Now, there is a lot of appetite from the European Union to import from Zimbabwe. We have a trade deficit with Zimbabwe. We don't mind. Zimbabwe companies are actually allowed to export duty and tariff-free any product. European companies are a bit more limited. 87% of the tariff lines have been liberated. 13 are still not liberated. But we don't mind that because there's an appetite for horticulture products. Now, having said that, if I look at the number of companies who registered, we have 200 companies, Zimbabwean companies, who registered under the trade agreement. That's actually relatively low. And when I go around and I talk to companies, often they do not know that the possibility of tariff and duty-free export exists.
Now, in an aim to boost its position as a regional aviation hub, Zimbabwe is hosting the Africa-Indian Ocean Region Aviation Week later this month, bringing together key stakeholders from across the world. The goal is to attract more airlines, increase connectivity, and unlock trade opportunities. Civil Aviation Authority of Zimbabwe Director General George Mashababe told ZTN Prime's Morning Rush that the government is working on aviation reforms, airport upgrades, and bilateral agreements to attract new carriers and boost passenger and cargo traffic.
The Zimbabwean government has made huge steps in developing, in growing the aviation infrastructure, including airports, including the radar surveillance and communication systems. There has been a huge effort in that area. The intent is to increase the safe and secure aviation environment in Zimbabwe, build the confidence to the airlines, and also ensure that we have efficiencies and in a safer aviation environment. Thank you.
Rainbow Tourism Group has posted a modest revenue rise for the first quarter of 2025, signaling resilience in a challenging environment. The hospitality giant recorded $8.7 million, up 2% from the same period last year. Company Secretary Tapiwa Mari credits steady hotel occupancy at 48% and a jump in revenue per available room from $43 to $48. The numbers were driven by strong conference bookings at city hotels and major refurbishments across key properties, including the new Ambassador Hotel, Victoria Falls Rainbow Hotel, and a $1 million upgrade at a Zambezi River Lodge. Now, RTG's tour unit Heritage Expeditions Africa also saw a 20% rise in activity, reflecting growing interest in local travel experiences. The group recently expanded its footprint with the acquisition of Montclair Resort and Conference in the Eastern Highlands, part of its broader growth strategy. Now, still on business, Vodacom Group, Africa's largest wireless carrier, declared a full-year dividend that beat analysts' estimates and outlined plans for network sharing agreements across the region. The company said after an earnings statement that it was seeking different ways to do network sharing with other African carriers, including MTN, Orange and Airtel Africa. They are setting up new joint ventures and bringing on partners with an ideal structure of 50-50%. Now that wraps up our stories on the economic landscape. Up next is entertainment.
for the main event. This is incredible. Oh, yes. He has written it. And the dream lives on. I cannot believe it.
Stay connected to DSTV this April and May and get all the football finals you want.
In a land where traditions run deep, where the soil holds the secrets of generations, and where dreams are sown alongside seeds, a new generation emerges. Welcome to Young Seeds. Get ready to embark on a journey like no other as we shine a spotlight on the dynamic and inspiring young farmers in the heartland of Zimbabwe.
I want to do it because plants will die, plants will get infected by diseases.
I tried to do mixed farming, that is also putting tomatoes. I have half a hectare of tomatoes.
Every 40 days, it has to be giving birth.
Produce a good quality fruit size. Calves are kept in different pens, basically so that they don't spread diseases to each other.
My name is Bankman-fried. I'm a rabbit farmer.
These young farmers are revolutionizing traditional practices, embracing technology, and finding sustainable solutions that will shape the future of agriculture. So, let's get our hands dirty.
A fresh wave of sound, spirit and fireworks for reggae lovers is set to hit Harare as the inaugural edition of the Reggae Roadblock concert series kicks off next Friday at Green Screen Cinema Jamtree entrance. The show will feature a dynamic lineup of Zimbabwe's top reggae artists, Selo Culture, Wuhle, Manex Motsi, Mr. Muffin, Sniper Storm, Dino Mulondo, Helga and Satisfaction, all backed by the legendary House of Stone band and hosted by MC J Boss. Inspired by Bob Marley's historic 1980 independence performance in Zimbabwe, Reggae Roadblock aims to rekindle the unifying revolutionary spirit of reggae music. As dim dancehall dominates the mainstream, the concert series fills the gap for traditional reggae lovers, offering a consistent platform for artists and fans. Now, models in vibrant Padik gowns made fashion statements in support of sustainability as they hit the runway in the Sierra Leone capital Freetown, marking a bold attempt to turn the production of eye-turning dresswear from a major polluter to the weapon against climate change. The Eco-Elegance fashion show, inspired by Miss World Sierra Leone 2024, showcased designs made entirely from eco-friendly materials, proving that style doesn't have to cost the earth.
This is about reinventing things. This is about putting things together. This is about our environment. It means so much more, and I want people to know that.
As a model, I am very passionate about environment, and this is why I'm here today, and also looking forward to more of these shows in Sierra Leone.
Fashion and tourism and just eco-elegance always for me tie in together very well. Like I'm wearing a batik piece that is obviously designed by Vivid Emporium, and you know it's a sustainable fashion. We are working with local batik and tie-dye makers here to create these amazing prints.
People were out and about over the weekend with entertainment events all across the country. Here is a look at the highlights that some of the events took place at. Hurai Makore, the new prince of Chimurenga music, is certainly looking to make a name for himself on the local music scene. The leader of the Black Lions and nephew of US-based legend Thomas Mafumo performed at the Grub restaurant and pub and gave a good show. The dynamic duo of Alec Macheso and Somandla once again captivated audiences with their recent performance. The pair staged a joint show at Club Manake in Rua, delivering an electrifying experience. Machesa then teamed up with Peter Moyo for another thrilling show in Mount Durban, further solidifying his reputation as a music powerhouse. HKD boss Freeman kicked off the weekend on Friday night in Kwekwe at the Magic Box, where he was supported by DJ Fidel. And on Saturday, he performed in Gweru at the Midlands Hotel, bringing the heat to one of the country's chilliest cities during the winter season. The First Capital Sports Club in Harare was the ultimate destination for club goers on Saturday, as it hosted an electrifying event featuring top DJs from South Africa and Zimbabwe. Dubbed the Carpe Diem 2025 season, the explosive gathering was headlined by South African amapiano stars Cabda De Small and Kelvin Momo. Bulawayo's renowned DJs, DJ Sviso and DJ Ash T, delivered impressive performances alongside an impressive lineup that also included DJ Made Her Believe, DJ J, DJ Mimi and D-Nice. Kabza was, however, the highlight of the night. Up next is sport. Seven-time Zimbabwe karate champion and popular fitness trainer Sensei Mugo Muhambi was laid to rest at Zinyengere Cemetery in Epworth, Harare on Monday, following his tragic death in a car accident on Saturday. Sports Minister Lieutenant General retired Anselm Sanyatwe was among hundreds of mourners who attended the funeral, and he paid tribute for his contribution to sport in Zimbabwe.
Asi chatunza pano se ministry mwana wetapa uyu akasimudza mureza weRepublic of Zimbabwe kutangisa muna 2000 kusvika mugore ra 2013 achiita basa rake nemazvo nechido, discipline iriti kuti abudirire. Murume ari apa akasvika kuRussian Federation, murume ari apa akasvika kuEurope, wana Hungary nedzimwe nyika dzakadaro. Haana kugumira ipapo, akasvika kuAsia, Far East, kuJapan nedzimwe nzvimbo nyika dziri ikoko.
After retiring from competition, Muhambi took up fitness training, working with the country's top athletes and celebrities. Among them was Mona Lisa Sibanda, the first ever female boxer in the country.
He's my childhood friend. I'm broken because Mugo, he was my best friend. I can't say much, but he was a good man. He was a good boy and became a man. He continued kungoramba ngomwanaka. Saka tarasikirwa mu field yese sport and fitness yese tarasikirwa nomwe munhu nga personal nga family inini personal. He was my best friend. So ndarasikirwa zvakanyanya nemunhu aindimotivheta, aindifonera aitaura neni, aindipusha training yangu bura ndiri mwana mudiki, aito mundiprotecta mufield redu kana kuchibasa kwedu kwechibouncer. Ndakashanda naye pakawanda, aitondiprotectawo ari partner yangu pakawanda patishanda semabouncers.
Muhambi is survived by his wife and 4 children. Now, Zimbabwe's fast bowler Blessing Muzarabani has been signed by Indian Premier League side Royal Challengers Bangalore as a temporary replacement for South African paceman Lungi Ndidi. The 28-year-old has been in impressive form for the Chevrons recently, getting a nomination for the ICC Player of the Month for April. He will join Royal Challengers Bangalore for the IPL playoffs, which start on May the 26th, a day after the Chevrons' historic 4-day test with England in Nottingham. Cricket expert Brighton Jawi is in the UK, where he has been following the Chevrons' preparations for the England test. We asked him what this move means for Mzarabani.
Wow, this is obviously good news for Mzarabani and for the Zimbabwe team. It's probably the best news after coming with a loss against the PCC team in the warm-up on Sunday. So you wake up and you hear this news. It's a booster thing for the team. Obviously, you know how defeats are deflating to any team. And for Mzarabani, it continues to show how he has grown to become an important player in international cricket and also on the domestic circuit. Also interesting is probably the Andy Flower connection regarding this move. Remember when Mzarabani played in the Pakistan Super League some seasons ago for the Mountain Sultans? Andy Flower was the head coach of that team. And Mzarabani, this is not his sort of first involvement in the IPL, because some seasons ago he was part of the Lucknow Super Giants, but as a net bowler. Andy Flower was also coach of that team. And now Andy Flower is in charge of the RCB, and it's not a surprise that Mzarabani has been included as a replacement for Lungi Kid. And obviously has ended because he's been doing well playing for Zimbabwe.
We also asked Jawi about Mzarabani's chances of playing in the IPL playoffs.
What it means now for people who've been doubting if this game would sort of last the 4 days, that is the one-off test, they'll be like, oh damn, if Zimbabwe lost to this young side, they stand no chance against England. Maybe this game will be over in 2 or 3 days. But I don't think, I think Zimbabwe will be competitive, to be fair. And there's a boost, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, about replacing Mzarabani involvement in the PL. And Sikandar Raza joins the team as well, which makes sort of interesting on the selection who misses out.
An impressive 19 goals were recorded this weekend, with Simbabora and current log leaders Moors powering to comprehensive wins. Billy Veremu hit a hat-trick in Moors' 4-0 win over Kwekwe United as Simbabora matched the scoreline against Triangle United. ZPC Kariba stunned Highlanders with a 2-1 win at Nyamunga Stadium, with Chicken Inn also falling 1-0 to Greenfield at Luveve. FC Platinum and Bikita Minerals shared the spoils at Mandava, while 9-men Yada staged a dramatic fight-back to forge a 1-1 draw against Talwan. Manica Diamonds halted Scotland's 3-match winning streak with a goalless draw. Moors extended their lead on the standings by 3 points after Scotland dropped points at Sakuva, and defending champions Simbabora stay within touching distance of the leading pair on 22 points. Herentals moved up into the top 4, while FC Platinum maintained their unbeaten start despite only managing 2 wins in the opening 12 matches. Caps United climbed out of the relegation places as Dynamos slipped down to 16th place, just 2 points above bottom place Kwekwe United. And still on sport, Zimbabwean golfer Scott Vincent has booked his place at next month's Open Golf Championship, set to be held at Oakmont Country Club in Pennsylvania. Vincent fired rounds of 67 and 67 in the 36-hole final qualifying event at Tarao Country Club in Japan, finishing at 10 under par to secure one of the 3 available spots. Japan's Yuta Tsugira topped the leaderboard with a 68 and 66, while Vincent's former Live Golf teammate Jinichiro Kozuma claimed the final qualifying slot in 3rd. Vincent's performance marks a major step in his comeback after being relegated from the Live Golf Tour last season, where he played for the Ironheads. And that's a wrap on our bulletin this Monday evening. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Wazanai Sansole. Have a good night.